All right, let's talk about something really cool. A technology that's trying to solve one of the biggest problems in clean energy by storing sunshine in salt. Yeah, you heard that right. Let's get into it.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if we could capture all that power from the sun and the wind? And instead of having to use it right away, we could bottle it up for hours or even days, using something as basic as salt? It sounds a little like sci-fi, but it's the real idea behind a technology that could seriously change the game.
So, to really get why this is such a big deal, we first need to talk about a huge headache for clean energy. It's something you could call the renewable energy paradox. Here's the fundamental problem. On one side, you've got renewables. They make a ton of power when the sun is blazing at noon or when the wind is really gusting. But on the other side, you have us. Our demand for power is pretty predictable, right? It spikes in the morning when we're all getting ready for work, and then again in the evening when we get home and turn everything on. And guess what? The sun isn't usually shining at 7 p.m.
This mismatch isn't a small thing. It is a massive problem. In places that have a lot of solar, like California, this means that up to 30% of all the clean energy they generate can just go to waste. It's produced at the wrong time, so it has nowhere to go. That is a huge amount of lost potential.
So what happens? The lights have to stay on. So when our demand is high, but the sun and wind aren't cooperating, utilities have to fall back on their old plan. They fire up these super expensive, super polluting peaker plants that usually run on natural gas. It completely undermines the whole point of going green in the first place.
But what if there was another way? This is where the hero of our story comes in, a company called Malta, and it has a pretty cool origin story, born out of Google's legendary Moonshot factory, known as X.
So Malta's journey started with this amazing inspiration, a concept dreamed up by a Nobel Prize-winning physicist. This brilliant idea then got scooped up by Google X, the place where they work on self-driving cars and other wild ideas, and they developed it. By 2018, the tech was ready to leave the nest, graduating to become its own independent company on a mission.
Now, the fancy name for this technology is electrothermal storage. But don't worry about the jargon. The concept is actually beautiful in its simplicity. You take electricity, you convert it into thermal energy, which is just a fancy way of saying heat and cold. And then you store that energy in really common, really cheap materials. It just sits there waiting until you need it again. And when I say the materials are common, I really mean it. We're talking about molten salt to store the heat, plain old steel tanks to hold it, air, and a chilled liquid, basically antifreeze, to store the cold. That's it. No rare earth metals, no crazy complex chemistry. These are truly salt-of-the-earth components for a potentially world-changing system. Okay, so how does this all actually work? How do you get from sunshine to hot salt and then back to electricity to power your TV? Well, the whole process is actually surprisingly straightforward. It's just 5 main steps. First, the system collects all that extra electricity from solar panels or wind turbines when no one needs it. Second, it uses that electricity to power a heat pump, which is kind of like a refrigerator running in reverse. It makes one side super hot and the other side super cold. Third, it stores that energy. The heat gets pumped into those giant tanks of molten salt, and the cold goes into the chilled liquid. Then, whenever we need power again, step 4 kicks in. A heat engine uses that big temperature difference between the hot salt and the cold liquid to spin a turbine and make electricity. And finally, step 5, that clean, on-demand power is sent right back to the grid. Now, this process isn't just clever. It's what makes this a true game changer for the entire energy industry. And the reason for that is what makes Malta's whole approach so incredibly powerful. It all comes down to this single idea. Malta provides a like-for-like replacement for a fossil fuel plant. Let that sink in. This isn't just a battery for your house. This is designed to do the same heavy lifting that a traditional coal or natural gas power plant does, but with zero emissions. So what does like-for-like really mean? Well, first, it means long-duration storage, from 8 to over 24 hours. Second, it operates at a massive scale, anywhere from 50 to over 500 megawatts. That's enough to power a whole city. Third, the system could last up to 40 years, way longer than most batteries. And this last one is so important, it provides something called rotational inertia. You see, traditional power plants have these huge spinning turbines that act like giant flywheels, keeping our grid stable. Malta's system has its own turbines, so it does the exact same thing, providing a physical stability that prevents blackouts.
And that's something most other batteries just can't do.
Okay, so this all sounds fantastic on paper, but is it actually happening? Absolutely. Malta is quickly moving from just being a powerful idea to having a real-world impact. The momentum here is undeniable.
And you can tell this is a serious contender just by looking at who's putting their money and their name behind it. We're not talking about just any investors. We're talking about major global players.
You've got companies like Siemens Energy, an absolute powerhouse in grid technology, Alfa Laval, who are experts in this kind of heat exchange, and even major firms like BBVA and Cox. This isn't just cash, it's strategic investment from industries that know exactly what it takes to build big.
And it's not just the investors who are paying attention. The experts and major publications all over the world are recognizing the innovation here.
Malta was just named one of Time's top green tech companies for 2025. It won the EUPD Research Award and was even a finalist for the huge Platts Global Energy Awards. This is the kind of recognition that tells you this technology is the real deal. But here it is, the ultimate proof point. This system is officially leaving the lab. A commercial-scale demonstration project is now being developed in Portollano, Spain. It's got positive momentum and is moving towards construction. This is where the theory truly becomes reality.
So, what's the bottom line here? When you strip it all away, this technology is designed to do one crucial thing: to take renewable energy like wind and solar with all its ups and downs and turn it into a reliable 24/7 source of power that the grid can count on.
And this all leads us to one final, really powerful question. For decades, the biggest hurdle for getting to a 100% renewable grid has always been the storage problem. But with innovative, scalable solutions like this molten salt system now actually becoming a reality, you have to ask, is that clean energy future finally closer than we think?